looks like 128,000 left on that loan, or close to it.
Brian,
Yes.
Deanne. Yes. Kevin,
Yes.
Cory,
Yeah.
Gary.
Okay, I do not see Mr. Stevens. So, LSD, we can cross that one off. Next up is Nick Rissman for resurfacing 45th Street.
First off, the estimates, I had emailed Rhonda yesterday. Want to let you know that that third option, I did find an error in my estimate. It was, did not look proportional to the rest of them, I did find an error in the price of the concrete for that. Also in that, so the one that I gave you today then is on the 11 by 17 sheet is the updated estimates. They also stated in the email that a fourth option is not available through the current way we're talking about funding it. And that's because of the funding market restrictions that I informed you guys about. There's a set dollar amount then that I can't go over. And with our project, obviously, A23 B58 project, but then also we have another Oak Lawn project in town, east of Cresco. We're also planning on letting the combined total of them, we only have about $115,000 remaining to be able to be used. So that $152,000 option is not available unless you guys had other funding that you wanted to use for that. I would put that, and you'd only be able to get that, essentially a loan to our FM account for up to $115,000. So if that's not something you guys are thinking about, then the top three options. The first one then is just going just past the dip at $34,871.11. The second option is going to the intersection right at Miller Street, essentially stopping at the stop sign. That's $62,210.06. And then the third option was actually redoing the entire intersection. So that estimate's at $91,108.32. After looking at it, I know you did, I think it was back in '03 when we paved, Jim might know that date better than I would. When we paved north of town is when we kind of did a little bit of a resurfacing east of that dip, and then came all the way to Willard. That pavement is in relatively good condition. So I guess I probably wouldn't recommend paving on that. You still have good pavement there. The biggest concern is that dip. But coming all the way to the stop sign might be more cost effective for you because your inline pavers, they're just going to keep going and it's not really going to stop. So it's not going to be, that much terribly more expensive, I guess, to go that much more of a distance into town. But doing the intersection, it was mentioned that there's a couple different concrete asphalt and things like that. It's really more of an aesthetics. There is a couple spots that you could do. I mean, it's completely up to you guys on what you wanted to do. The other thing that we could do is, because of those FM restrictions that I mentioned, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of county work out there. There's going to be a lot of contractors that are going to be interested in this project. It's 12.25 miles long, very, very large project. There's a very good chance that we're going to have very competitive bids. My estimate might be high. So whatever you guys decide to do, we can always potentially add to it after the bids come in. If the bids come in lower than my estimate, then that dollar amount is still the same that I can max spend to. So we could potentially do more. The biggest reason why the third and the fourth estimate are a little bit higher is because we need to come into grade at that location. I really don't wanna raise the road up 6 inches in those locations. I also don't know what kind of pavement we have underneath the surface. I really would have to get out there and take some cores. Generally, we rent a core machine from a couple different companies that we have options to do that, and really drill cores and try to find out how thick of each type of surface is underneath there. And that's how you determine the new thickness of pavement, without knowing what is in there, but also knowing that we need to come in at grade. That estimate is actually to remove everything, put a new granular base down, and then put new concrete down completely. There again, after more investigation, there's a potential that that could then go down if I find out that there's a relatively thick amount of pavement underneath there that I'm not aware of. But in order to do that, I'd have to rent a core machine and everything like that to try to figure that out. I guess you guys have any questions, comments, concerns on either of the options?
On this,
Go ahead.
sure?
Yeah.
On the second one, how many feet was that, do you remember? I mean, the first one's 750. I mean, it's double the
was-
money, is it double the distance?
It's pretty
Or,
much
I
double
mean,
the
pretty
distance, yeah,
close.
I wanna say it was like just under 14, so not quite double, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't double check.
No,
I
no,
think-
that's fine, I was just curious. I mean, I'd guess it's about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
On the third one, where we would redo the intersection,
Yep.
okay? How far would you be going to the west? How far would you be going on Miller Street to the north and south? And what do you classify as intersection? Is it just the right
The
there?
quantities that I used, we actually kind of went, and again, for an estimate, I didn't go out and survey it and try to get all the exact data. We took aerial photography and we really looked at where the right-of-way kind of looked to be. So it would actually go into Jackson Street, 10 or 15 feet or something each direction as to where kind of the right-of-way line of the east-west road kind of looks like it would be. And then you can consider that to be within the right-of-way of the farm to market road that's coming through. So it does kind of extend, like I said, 10 to 15 feet north and south of each, of the east-west roads.
I mean, we're looking at the difference here of going basically to the stop sign, paving at Miller to Miller Street. The intersection basically costing us another $30,000 just for the intersection.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And that's something too, I mean, the intersections, when you do that, normally when we're paving out on the road, if we got a paver and they're dumping it and it's slip form and it's just being laid right out from the paver. When you do intersection work like that, it's all handwork. Okay, so that's also another reason why the cost of that's a little
Oh,
bit higher,
yeah.
because it's a lot
Yeah.
more handwork. On another note with that, you can probably do that for the, when you add on 750 feet to a 12.25 mile project, you're gonna get a good deal on that, on slip form. When you're doing handwork like that, you can probably get the same price, no matter if it's tied onto a 12.25 mile project or not. Especially the plant here in town that could produce concrete enough to handle that small of an area, in a timely fashion. So that is something you could do in the future.
Yeah. That's kind of,
Yeah. These numbers that he's given us, the first one, I mean, we're looking at a 15-year, 0 interest loan. First one, is through the dip at $34,871. On 15 years, our annual payment would be about $22,000. Paving, to Miller Street, 15 years. 62,000 to 10, 15 years would be about 4,140.
Just make sure everybody can see as much as you possibly want. I've gotta go see what's going on.
And I'm wondering, and this is, like you said, talking about the cement plant out here, maybe we could do something in the intersection that isn't gonna cost us another $30,000.
yeah.
To me, I mean, and I understand it's all handwork, but to me, $30,000 is a chunk.
Is it even done and
for
ready to be
me.
paved?
I mean, when I said
If you can ask that, he's talking about digging the whole thing up anyway.
An
Oh, okay.
intersection for another
I'll
30.
be right back.
We were to take a loan on this, so you get 25,000, 5%.
Exactly.
That cost you one loan.
And we're definitely talking concrete, am I correct?
Yep, actually, sorry, I should have started with that. Yesterday, I did give both estimates for just the county portion to the board of supervisors yesterday, and we did decide to go with concrete, so the options are just concrete.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the third one, $91,108 on a 15 years, $6,073 for the year. Which really, $6,000 for a payment for a year, that's not bad. But it would have to,
The intersection is so goofy though, because you turn in there. I mean, that's where it's gonna get the most wear,
yeah,
in my mind, you're turning trucks and everything else in there.
It's just gonna require a lot more labor.
If you put the concrete in there now instead of what's there, it's gonna last a lot longer.
yep. So the difference basically between to Miller and then having the intersection done, a little under $2,000 a year for 15 years.
I don't think you take a straight loan for that
I
cheap.
don't think so either. I mean, considering we're getting 0 interest, I mean, I'm looking at the dollar figure and it's just like, okay, 750 feet for 34,000, and all of a sudden, this little intersection, I understand there's a lot of handwork, that little intersection is another 30, and it's like, wow. But when I look at over 15 years and 0 interest, you're right. I mean, if we take out a loan for 25,000 and have to pay 5-6% interest, we're right back where we started, if not worse.
Yeah.
So what do you guys want to do?
And then just go with option three.
So you said if you go out, like past the stop sign then, into the.
Probably right around that,
Right around the
right
stop
around
sign?
that location. I should
Keep that in my
have,
mind.
I should have brought it down, I guess.
So you're gonna go 33 feet from the center of the road each way approximately?
Again, what we did is we took the aerial photo and just tried finding the pavement on the entire aerial photo. Our aerial photo we can bring in, and it's pretty dang accurate as far as footage. So we essentially drew lines down the existing road. So whatever your existing road width is what you end up getting back. And you'll notice on that, for the intersection, like, you don't have an increase in shouldering
He's
price.
gonna start picking up.
That's because this will be at the same elevation, so theoretically,
He's
you
in the
shouldn't
top
have,
now, and he's
any
okay.
additional
So if he
shouldering.
throws up again, call me, but start picking it up. The girls will be there, so
If
have
there
them
is,
help you.
and just wait till it goes up, but, like I said, I am anticipating these to come in lower than my estimate,
Yeah.
because it will be such a competitive,
Mhm.
project for a lot of contractors. But in the same sense, like, if you did decide to go option 2, you can always find out after the bid letting, boy, they came in way high, and we're glad we took option 2 rather than option 3. Or they come in really low, and then you say, all right, how much would you charge if we went all the way through the intersection? It's completely up to you guys, though, I mean,
How long, if we chose option 2 then, how long would we have to decide?
You mean, if you choose option 2,
Yep.
and then you decide to add the intersection, that would be, it can completely be dependent on when the contractor comes in. How lettings work is, after the bid happens, after letting happens, it generally takes about a month to get all the contracts signed. After that point, then we can have discussions with the contractor, find out when they're coming in, and we can start talking contractual items. If they want to come in the very next day, you'll have a shorter period. If they want to come in 6 months from, 6 months from that time, you'll have a longer period. We just really wouldn't know until the contractor tells us when they're planning on coming in. But but also depending on if they're gonna start in Cresco versus start in Lime Springs. If they start in Cresco, you'll have more time because they won't get Lime Springs for a while. So it's really dependent on the contractor, but I would guess you'd have, like I said, I'll know the bid documents. Generally takes about a week and a half for me to get the actual bids. I know the overall dollar amounts within minutes of the letting, but I don't know how much each bid item was for about a week
Did
and
they
a
say
half.
if the
Once I
intersection
receive
would be
that,
ready,
and
then
then
I
once all
missed
the
it?
contracts are signed, then we can start looking at that.
I
But
mean,
you
would
at
they
least have
be
a
able
month
to?
or two
But
out.
I mean, is it
Once
fixed
the
and all
bid
that kind of
then
stuff?
is
Because
done,
didn't they dig it out there?
how
for
much of a
case
price
they were
increase
gonna
do the contractors have to increase per change?
estimates for it, digging it completely
Um,
out and starting fresh.
It's kind of up to them. I mean, you take that, that is a risk. It's a good point.
Some,
Generally, they're
some
not.
got 15% upcharge per change.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends on the contractor. Some contractors, they're easy to work with and they're happy to just do it for the contract price and they had money built into that contract price and they're gonna make that money. Some people will try to take advantage.
Yeah.
It all depends on the contractor.
But going from 60,000 to
I almost think
90,000.
we should just go with option three,
You too.
and you hopefully it comes in under that. If not, that's not what we had to spend on roads, we used to spend on some of that.
Exactly. The other part of that too is the fact that my fear is that if it's a short turnaround notice, we won't have time to pull together a council meeting to get an approval, because it has to go through council.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you guys, whoever wants to make a motion
I
on
think
that.
I would make a motion to go with option three.
Also.
Brian,
Yes.
Leanne, yes, Kevin,
Yes.
Cory,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
With that, then I got 28
Give us
agreements.
something to
Um,
watch.
And I can give you these two copies, I know you guys generally sign them at a later date. Don't mind, the only thing I would like to do is run it by my county recorder to make sure all my margins and everything are correct for recording purposes. I'll give you these two copies here, we're gonna have two copies of it, just so you can read it. I believe the only thing that would change would be margins or anything like that, but, maybe what I could do is set up a time, and the majority of my staff are also, notaries. So, once I get it, approved by the county recorder of her office, I can just have one of my staff, bring it up here and just set up a time with you, Barb and Rhonda, and get it signed, or Wendy, or whoever you want to have it signed. I guess I'll need to know that, because I need to, one of the requirements are I have to have their name printed on the document also, not just their signature, so, it'd be just a matter of setting up a time to meet with you two to get signatures.
I'm just wondering, it says passed and approved by the city council of Lime Springs. We really need to make a motion to pass
Correct.
this
Yes, you're right.
tonight. You want me to read the 2080? It's story hour. Prepared by and returned to Nicholas A. Rissman, P.E., Howard County Engineer, 1147 Street, West Cresco, Iowa. Phone number 563-547-2620. 28E, County Project Agreement. Whereas both Howard County and the City of Lime Springs are a public agency, and as is defined by Section 28E.2 of the Code of Iowa, and whereas Section 28E.3 of Code of Iowa provides that any power or powers, privileges, or authority exercised or capable of exercise by a public agency of the state of Iowa may be exercised and enjoyed jointly by a public agency of the state of Iowa having such power or powers, and whereas it is deemed to be in the best interest of Howard County, the city of Lime Springs, and their respective citizens, that the county and city jointly undertake to provide a construction project within the corporate limits of the city of Lime Springs. Whereas it is proposed that Howard County plan, design, and let for bidding the reconstruction of 45th Street, also known as County Road A23, Jackson Street from the east corporate limits of the city of Lime Springs, then west to the intersection of Miller Street. Whereas the Howard County Board of Supervisors and the City of Lime Springs Council have informed themselves as to the proposed improvement. It is now agreed that Howard County and the City of Lime Springs enter into an agreement pursuant to Chapter 28E of the Code of Iowa, providing for cooperative action pursuant to the proposed roadway construction project. Scope of work: Howard County will design, let, and construct improvements to 45th Street, County Road A23, Jackson Street. 1. Duration: this agreement shall commence on the date that both parties sign the agreement and shall continue thereafter until the final completion of the project and settlement of the financial conditions of this agreement. Number 2, the purpose. The purpose of this agreement is to accomplish and propose project as described herein in accordance with the aforesaid scope of work and in agreement with conditions specified in this agreement. Number 3, financing. Howard County shall initially finance the cost of the project. The City of Lime Springs shall reimburse Howard County for the actual cost of construction over a period not to exceed 15 years from the date of final project acceptance by the Howard County engineer. Number 4, administration. All engineering services provided before, during, and after construction shall be administered by Howard County through its secondary roads department, which shall be responsible for all procedural and substantive matters relating thereto. These services shall be provided by the Howard County engineer and his authorized representative and shall be in accordance with the appropriate standards of the Iowa Department of Transportation. The Howard County engineer shall determine when, in his judgment, performance is complete and shall thereafter recommend to the county and city that the project be finally accepted. Number 5, the county and city agree to save and indemnify and keep harmless each other against all liabilities, judgments, costs, and expenses which may in any way come against either party or which in any way result from carelessness or neglect of either party or its agents, employees, or workmen in any respect whatsoever. Number 6, the county and city agree to indemnify and hold each their employees and agents wholly harmless from any damages, claims, demands, or suits by any person or persons arising out of any acts or omissions by either party, its agents, servants, or employees in the course of any work done in connection with any of the matters set forth in this agreement. Number 7, this agreement shall commence on the date that all parties sign this agreement and shall continue thereafter until final completion of the project and settlement of the financial conditions of this agreement. And then we get into the signature pages. The first one is to be signed by the Board of Supervisors. And the second one would be passed and approved this 3rd day of December 2013, City of Lime Springs, State of Iowa City Council. Rhonda would attest it as city clerk. And then it has the notary stuff on the bottom. So we'll have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Brian,
Yes.
Dan, Kevin,
Yes.
Cory,
Yes.
Gary.
Okay, so when you're ready.
Do I need to have, on this, I'm not sure on this, as Wendy as the attest, is that because she's here, do I need to have her as the attest? Do you know that from the chance?
And I'm not sure, you might wanna check with
I can-
Chapman.
Yeah, I'll ask her now.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be in the minutes that it was approved. It's on video recording, it's on tape recording, so,
Yeah.
yeah. But I check with Julie, cause I'm sure that they'll want to make sure that the proper names are in and typed and everything. And then just let me know when you need to have it signed.
Okay,
Thanks, Nick.
yep.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Could be your fault.
Mr. George.
Several items, I'm not quite sure, the first item there, are we talking about the construction contract?
Yep, for
Okay,
the replacing the 4-inch
Right.
main up here on Howard.
right, okay.
Okay,
I just got word today that DNR is approving the construction permit for that project tomorrow.
okay,
We will send it out by the end of this week. You should have it by the end of this week or the first part of next week. So that allows us to go ahead with construction contract.
okay, your 3 contractors.
Right.
Niemert,
Niemert is one.
Brunig,
Okay.
Carlson. Do they,
I,
I don't think Carlson does.
I think
they
they
don't,
don't.
does
Isn't Bruning
Bruning bought 'em?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So who we got for a third? Anybody know another one?
there's Blazic down in Lawler, Iowa. Spikers in, Spikers out of Fredericksburg.
Well, yeah,
Blazic's done work for us
Maybe you have
before.
more up this way anyway.
Okay, Blazic.
Blazic, okay. Yes. And Niemert Skyline Construction, which is Bruning really, and then,
Okay.
Blazic then. All right, very good. We will get the, paperwork out to them like that. They will have bids to you at your next council meeting. Is that your wish? That we just open them at your next regular council meeting?
Yep.
That's
That
fine.
works.
Can I just, do you have that set already?
Huh?
Do you have your next council meeting set?
It'll
Sometimes
be
it changes.
January,
It'll be January the 7th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine, thanks. Just wanted to make sure, because sometimes they change,
Bring Joe.
weekly first of the year like that.
It's our 30th.
Okay,
Awesome.
the next item there was the contract, I'm sorry, the contractor was the third item there is quotes relating to cell phone link, phone dialer for the West Well House.
okay, let me explain that.
Okay,
We have at the well house, pumps, and we took a 400 volt surge from, according to what the diagnostics told us, which popped the circuit breakers out, which meant that the well pumps didn't run. We ran out of water. If we had an auto dialer, we take a surge, we take some kind of a problem, the auto dialer would automatically send out a text message or a phone call, am I correct? To how many, it'd be Casey,
there would be a listing of up to 8 different numbers that it would proceed down through until somebody
answer.
recognizes it properly.
Yep,
And so if you call someone's house and the babysitter answers and she says, so what? I mean, the pump didn't run or whatever, the water pressure's low. She's not acknowledging that properly. And there's a code. In other words, it's just like a very simple code that's plugged in by anybody who is on that list. He knows it. It might be 5-5 or 10-12 or something like that, whatever it is. If they acknowledge it with that code, it quits. If they don't acknowledge it properly, it goes on to the next number, and it keeps going right on down the list until somebody acknowledges it proper, or it starts again at the top and runs down to it a second time. Normally, by the time it goes through twice, you're finding somebody for sure that will acknowledge it properly. It's a very desirable thing on a critical station. Sewage pump stations and at least one of the wells should have that.
and that's why, I mean, the other night when we had no water, had we had this, Casey would have been notified the instant that that breaker threw out and that pump went down, am I correct?
Well, you would know that when it called for water, there was a problem, and when it called for water, there's still water supply there.
Exactly.
But it's not until, so, yeah, it can be set off a parameter, because we go off feet of water, we're supposed to call for water at 108 feet, and if water level drops below, say 106, that parameter can be set in off of the variable frequency drive, you know, and at 106 feet, there's still 20, 30,000 gallons of water there, which is a half a day's water, or at least 8 hours, depending on the time of year, usage, stuff like that. You're getting multiple hours of heads up.
Of use, exactly.
There's-
So instead of me getting the phone calls, which start always with Rex and Mary Tibbles, because they're at the top of the line, and they go dry first. And so instead of us being dry, he would have had that notification long before we would have never gone without water.
Normally speaking, also, the phone dialer itself, when it senses a power loss in the building, when you lose power to the building, it waits as many minutes as you have coded in there, but, you know, typically that would be coded in to wait like 3 or 4 minutes or something, so it's not just a brief power outage. But if there's anything significant, then it turns around and notifies the operator that the power is out. Doesn't tell the operator what the pressure is, but it does tell him that the power is out, he's then aware of it. And he will, you know, either go there and check it, or he'll ask somebody else maybe to go there and check it, but it gives a warning even prior to that low pressure yet. Even if the tower is almost full, it'll still do that same thing yet. It's still a desirable thing.
Well, and Barb, when that was out Saturday night and we had a baby shower for my niece the next day here, and it was 50 degrees in here when we got in here. And we cranked the furnace and it didn't get warm and didn't get warm, so Kelly finally called Steve and Jill, and they came and they said it was because of that the water furnace wasn't working properly, so.
And that would be a remedy, basically. It would be, you know, we have one out at the sewer plant, am I correct, or is that out at the lift station? Lift
There's
station.
one at the travel plaza.
Yeah, because Roger Lipa has called and said, I don't know why I'm getting these calls, because when you got it fixed, it went back and
Yeah,
started
when I
calling.
plugged it in before I could even get it reprogrammed.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I said, yeah, I know, I'm good programming it right now, it's never happened again.
so,
I should make another comment right here, though. I got a call today from DNR, and they made note of the fact that you do not have a proper phone dialer out at the wastewater plant, and they need one out there too, is what
okay,
they're
so
saying.
we're gonna need 2 of them then.
We're gonna need 2 phone dialers and 1 linkage. You have a hard line out there. Do you
Yeah.
wish to keep the hard line out there? And
So,
I should explain again, the hard line is a telephone line,
Mhm.
Wired line, like up to the
Landline.
building. But I was told that for each hard line, you pay about $44.
Wow.
Cell phone typically is about $10 a month per unit. Okay, there's a linkage unit that's required between a cell phone and the phone dialer. That linkage unit is about $190, $120, like that, but it's a
Bluetooth
one-time
cell
purchase.
interface,
Pardon me?
is that the interface?
Yes, the link,
Yeah.
yes, the interface.
119.
That's a one-time purchase. You don't pay for that on a monthly charge at all. You have to pay for your cell phone on a monthly charge. Whatever program you are on, you know, you have to pay for that cell phone monthly. But it saves you any kind of a hard line then to that building. That's why we looked at the one for the West Well House, the one for the wastewater treatment plant. I'm just saying you might consider that in the same
Then we
manner.
could disconnect the landline out there. That same phone number out there is the one that goes to the pool. So basically, we could put it on vacation rate at the pool, still, and just pay it for the summer months at the pool. And that would cut down the phone bill immensely. Okay, so we really need one at the well house. And we need one out at the lagoon. Okay, we're looking at $119, which would be workable for a one-time shot, right?
Yes.
And then the $795, the dialer, we're looking at 2 of those, am I correct? So it'd be like 1,500, somewhere in.
But the 119, you need 2 of those
Yeah,
too.
that's
We
times,
need 2 of
that's
those
times
too.
2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to have one at each location
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it runs off of Bluetooth.
Okay,
So the phone has to be relatively close to the
Yeah.
link unit.
we're looking at 914 times 2. That's something we need.
Yeah, I know, it is.
Well, with the sewer, is that something that would be added to the sewer project?
You eventually, yep. I mean, would we have to do both of
You,
them
you
right
could,
away?
no, what you could do, you could just put a phone dialer out at the sewer plant now and not spend, heavy money up front and then incorporate that into the project out there. Put the, link line and so forth in at that time. Well, the phone dialer is still the,
Yeah, that was.
That's still the heavy part.
Yeah.
yes, I see. So you don't really save much.
Not really.
You still need a phone dialer though. Is the old
Exactly.
phone dialer, I'm just asking, there was one out there. But is it working if we change batteries and so, I'm just
That
asking.
one's plugged in, it's got a power
Oh,
line, but it.
Yeah, I think we should get it done.
Okay.
Okay,
They got a
make a
rotary
motion.
dial phone.
Make a motion.
Okay. No, if it's a plug-in, you need a battery out there.
Yes, that one does it.
Okay. You need two of them.
Brad,
Yeah.
Cory,
Yes.
She doesn't even know what she's saying. You do. Did you see her? She had no idea.
All right, George, get it done. It just got voted in for both of them.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay,
You bet.
Casey, work with George on that one.
Can do.
Please don't put my phone number on that one. Third.
Second and fourth.
Okay. Next item we have is Howard County Sheriff's Office sent us a letter in regards to the $10 per capita, so we can put our budget in order. Should be in everybody's packet. City of Lime Springs regarding Howard County town contracts. This letter is to advise you that the Howard County Sheriff's Office and Howard County Board of Supervisors have agreed on a charge of $10 per capita for law enforcement coverage for your town for starting July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. We will keep track of the hours spent in each town for 1 year to assist us in determining future town contracts. In December 2014, the town contracts will be further discussed between Howard County Sheriff's Office and the Howard County Board of Supervisors to decide on the amount of the town contracts for the following fiscal year of 2015, July of 15 to June of 16. It says if you have any objections to this contract, please state your objections in writing and send them to the Sheriff's Office by December 2nd. It's a little tough for that to happen considering we don't have a meeting until tonight. If no objections are received, a written agreement will then be delivered to each town in the near future. So basically, the $10 per capita for this year is pretty much done, which is a whole lot better than the $44 an hour. So it looks like we will have a contract coming at us.
Nothing more on there, it's just an FYI.
That's just an
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah,
It's coming.
all right.
Okay, Tony, Fire Department report.
Corey and Gary know, we had a fire board meeting before our fire meeting. I have officially resigned. This is my last one of these. I have one more meeting with the boys as far as being the chief. I'm not quitting the department, I'm just stepping down. Nate Zuckerath has been voted in, and the fire board has, I'm assuming, has approved it. We have Terry Kolek is staying on as assistant chief, Kenny Grunwald is safety, Casey is our new training officer. After that, we basically got ready for Christmas in Lime Springs, cleaned the floor, washed the trucks, and we were done. It's been nice and quiet, and I like it.
Okay, and I do have Tony's letter of resignation as chief in my folder, and we'll put that in file. Nathan, I have spoken to him, he'll be fine. He has a ton of good ideas for things to change.
He's way more computer literate than I am. Way more. He'll be much better at reports, the budget, he's better at the paperwork completely. I'm just gonna say that right out. He's way.
Well, you and Rita have been fighting with this for years. I
Well,
mean,
we-
you do it diligently, it's just that you've been fighting with it, and it's
Well, we
a bear.
finally drug ourselves out of the hole. We're finally out of the hole. Now we just gotta try and keep climbing.
Okay, and Tony, thank you.
Thank you for working with me.
Yep, thank you.
Doc's not here. Marcy, do you know anything about the library for library report? Okay. Community center report, I got that one. Community center got, a $50 grant from the Oneota Club to replace or add to, the silverware in the kitchen, which is a good thing. We're looking forward to the Howard County Community Foundation grant, which, there was an email that I got that it looks like there's gonna be another training session coming in January, that we're looking at opening up the grant soon, it looks like.
I think they're already open.
Are they? Okay. The board is looking at the possibility of changing that door to an ADA type door, so that you can push the button for wheelchairs that can't handicap. Rhonda has looked into the door closers. Door closers range from $800 to $3,500, and the door switches range from $200 to $600, but none of that includes labor, that's just the parts and the pieces. So we may be looking at Howard County Community Foundation grants. We also may be looking at putting Grace Hughes grant on that one too. Same thing.
Stop.
Oh, all right. That's about all we've got for the community center. Oh, community, Christmas in Lime Springs, their basket sales. They had less baskets this year. Normally, and I cannot remember, and I did not have time to look, but I think the community center normally takes in about $800 in their basket, silent raffle. This year, we took in, I think it was close to 400 on the baskets, and then there was a private donation of like 250, so brings it back up to about, I want to say close to 650, but I don't have the number on it completely. But that's not bad, considering. So that's all I've got there. Gary, you got a pool and park report, or Mary, or Marcy, you got a pool and park board report, or?
They sold calendars and different things that they, last night, donations were paid for the body pool. Looking at a new sign for Brown Park, we're gonna do it, so,
Okay.
and we need to budget.
Yeah, we do.
We got both pool and the ball game, got some money from the
Oneota? Okay. Those little Dumahickeys, how did they do?
They did okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Paint wise, what are we looking at, cost per gallon, or did we just have a donation type thing, or?
Yeah, it was just a bucket there.
Okay.
I don't know.
There's no way.
I can't remember. It
25
was
cents.
maybe $140 is what we brought in
Oh,
that
okay.
day altogether,
Okay.
so.
Do we have any idea what that paint's gonna cost us a gallon? Case? Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I don't wanna speculate on that right now.
Yeah, and that's fine.
He had
I just-
kind of mentioned that he thought it would be 3,000 for the entire deep end, but,
Okay.
you know, I think that was a guess as
Okay.
well.
Alright.
Maybe an
Yeah,
educated one, but a guess.
based on coverage.
Okay, boards are covered. Case, well project update.
Yeah, let me jump, I'll go to the new meters and then the pump, West Well pump will leave you that. The meters, we've been getting a few more in. Cooperation has been so-so. Some people are cordial and happy to let us in, you know, we're respectful of their property, and it goes pretty good in installation that way, and some not so much. But we're making headway. Usage for the month was up, but that it correlated right in line with the usage of this building was up, about a quarter million gallons, or more than last month, but whatever that's. So everything made sense on that. Then, we already touched on that west well pump. That well pump, the amp draw on that motor has increased a couple amperage from when we installed it. And, my honest thought is that when it comes to like well project, the, east well pump was beyond repair. I think that was said months back.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that we're gonna need to buy a new motor for that well building. Well, I would like to buy a new well, when we do buy one, buy it ahead of time, put it in the west building, have the west one rebuilt and ready to go when we do the east building. Follow me?
Let me ask you this, the one in the west building now,
Yeah.
is it running?
It's run.
And it's workable, but it's.
But the
it's
amp
dated.
draw, yeah, it was, before we put the VFD in, we were having a little problems with the old contactor. That thing was only rated at 36 amp, and it was getting right at 36 amp, and, you know, and then now it's drawing close to 40, the motor's rated at 39. So,
Basically, she could kind of like.
yeah, well, I don't know if we would, yeah, but, you know, then with that comes heat,
Okay.
and that's the only problem when you start getting stuff hot.
So-
And right now, the winter time will be all right, but, we don't have a lot of ventilation in that building right now for like summertime, 'cause, you know, that VFD gives off a lot of heat. We won't burn a lot of propane actually on that building, because that VFD drive just about heats that building. It does. That's a good thing. So, but that's the way that VFD is meant to work too, so, yeah, like if there's anything, I don't, George.
In order to answer Leanne's question, basically what you're looking at doing is, when we get ready to do the east building, you want the new pump to go to the west
Yeah.
and do that early.
Yeah,
So
before
that
we
we can
start.
take that pump that is running hot now,
Yeah.
take that pump and have it rebuilt so that it'll be back in time to install it to the east well.
Yeah, yeah, because you know, it's gonna take a couple month turnaround,
Yeah.
and you switch it up, send it down there, you know, you guys can find out what it's gonna cost to rebuild it, because there's not, you know, it's repairable, there's no doubt about repairing it, it's gonna be much less expensive than buying a new one, you know,
So,
Okay.
didn't we redo the whole west? No?
everything but the motor.
but the motor.
The motor,
Yeah.
the motor,
The motor was good. Yeah.
One thing we can go to heck in a handbasket is good.
It was, it tested good at the time.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's no plan B.
No.
Yeah, no, that's the only thing.
No, we don't,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
guy
yeah,
wants some.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, say that motor hatched tomorrow. Where are we at?
I can pump water out of the other building, but, we have no way of chlorinating that water. I would have to fly to run it up, flush them out, flush that hydrant, and we could fill the tower, but we'd be under boil order.
Okay, so how much
Yeah,
is that
water.
new pump
Yeah.
gonna cost me?
A new motor is $2,400 plus installation. It's about $4,000 by the time you have it installed.
How soon?
Chinese? It's not bad though. Normally a new motor is not bad to get. I don't wanna tell you how many days because I don't have that. I'm sorry, I
I
should
mean,
have
are we
asked that
looking at a
question.
month? We
Oh,
looking at?
no, it shouldn't be a month. It should be like a week to 2 weeks, something like that.
So, anybody thinking what I'm thinking, that maybe we just
Make a
order
motion
the,
on
yeah,
Make a motion to order a new one. And have the other one rebuilt. How long does it take to rebuild?
Depends on the schedule of the motor rewind shop. And, you know, physically, it doesn't take them that long to do it, but they schedule their work such that unless you are willing to pay a premium, you know,
What
put it
does
ahead.
that cost less? How much less is the rebuild versus the new?
Oh. Just guessing, rebuild is probably half to 2/3. I shouldn't guess that, you know, for you. I'd rather let them quote it for you. But they
And
will
then
tell
the
us.
rebuild, what's the warranty on a rebuild?
Probably, well, that I don't know.
Okay.
Why don't we get a, before we have it rebuilt, we'll get a quote for you and
Right.
the warranty for that.
See if it'd be
rebuild.
justifiable enough to
Sure.
go that way or the other way.
Sure. Good point.
Either way, we're gonna need new pump.
Either way.
Right.
I mean, for not to get started, right?
Yes, yes, yep.
You need a motor.
So do we
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
Make a motion, we order a new pump and send the other one away for estimates on a rebuild.
That we word it though as a new motor.
New motor.
Yeah, you're gonna order a new motor and then send the other,
Yes.
the other one away for
Yes.
an estimate
Estimate.
on.
Yes. I just didn't want to word it as a pump.
Pump, the pump on the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
right,
We already got it in the way.
Yep.
All right,
you got 1 and 2?
got 1 and 2. Brian,
Yes.
Leanne, Kevin,
Yes.
Cory,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
No, so much for the budget amendment that we just did. I think we'll be doing another one.
But,
Keep talking, Casey.
You're still out.
well, as George alluded to, the contact with DNR, because Amber and Don
Don
were here
Chase.
yesterday. They did a drop-in visit this plant, like I said,